A Louisiana immigration judge has ruled the U.S. can deport Columbia University graduate student Mahmoud Khalil based on the federal government's argument that he poses a national security risk. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Most people in radio commercials talk really fast. But we made this one for RV owners. Progressive knows they like the slower pace of RV life, like this commercial. And they know Progressive will protect their RV at a fair price with discounts. Now here comes the fast part. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
Stocks jumped in another manic day on Wall Street, but the falling value of the U.S. dollar and other swings in financial markets suggest worries about President Trump's trade war remain high. The S&P 500 rose 1.8% after varying between gains and losses, closing a historic week full of monstrous swings. The Dow Jones Industrial Average went from an early loss of nearly 340 points to a substantial gain. The Nasdaq Composite rose 2.1%. Stocks kicked higher as pressure eased a bit from within the U.S. bond market. The Dow up 619 points to close at 40,212. The Nasdaq gained 337 points today to 16,724. The S&P 500 added 95 points to 5363. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. It's overcast tonight with a low temperature dipping down to 47. Tomorrow, nicer, a blend of sunshine and clouds to go with a high temperature of 67. For Sunday, absolutely gorgeous. All kinds of sunshine. The high is 72. And we look ahead, much warmer on Monday. More sunshine-filled skies with 83 the high temperature. Have a great weekend. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point look for weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart.
This is 107 The Point.
This is The Point.
Make thepointradio.com.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sports Talk Media Network. On this Friday night, heading into another great weekend. Great to have you with us. Phil Kornblut at our Atlanta studios tonight. Little family activity over the weekend. Chris Bergen from the Berge Palace in Sardis, and the plumber, Josh Cohen, back at our studios in Columbia, jammed up with triple Masters coverage coming your way tonight. Don Williams at 6:35, MJ Ward at 7:05, and George Bryan, of course, at 7:35. All have been on the course. Looking forward to hear what they have to say as we head into the weekend. It's going to be a great weekend, a great leaderboard. Saturday should be terrific as the golfers position themselves for what will be a fantastic Sunday finish. Justin Rose holding on to the lead at 8 under par, 71 today. It's 2 straight rounds under par. Bryson DeChambeau, a 68 for DeChambeau today after a 69. He is in second at 7 under. Rory McIlroy, what a comeback for him after his late troubles yesterday. A 66 puts him at 6 under par. Very much in the hunt. Corey Connors is also at 6 under par. After a 70, Scotty Scheffler still on the course. Kind of an up and down day for him, but he's still very much in the hunt. He's 2 under on the round, 6 under for the tournament, tied for third. And also tied for third, Terrell Hatton. He has a 3 under par round going for him today. He is 6 under as he plays 15 this afternoon. That's the top of the leaderboard. One other score we should mention is a tip of the cap, a salute to Nick Dunlap, who, of course, gained, I don't want to say fame, but was no doubt talked about quite a bit yesterday after a round of 90. You know, he could have just mailed it in today, but no, sir, he has gone out. He's on the 18th. He's 2 under for the day. So an amazing turnaround after a round of 16 over yesterday. Make that a round of 18 over yesterday. He's 2 under today. 20-shot swing. That's pretty good to bounce back from an outing like he had the other day. Bernhard Longer trying to make the cut. This was his final Masters. Does not look like he will make it. He bogeyed the last. Left in with a 73 after a 74, +3 for the tournament. Right now, the projected cut is +2. Top 50s and ties. Right now, you've got 54 who will play on the weekend as it stands right now. And Phil Mickelson, who is not looking to end his Masters career anytime soon. Phil Mickelson today is also in a position not to make the weekend. He sits at +3. He's even on the day. So he may not be around for the weekend. And then you have got, of course, Dustin Johnson, the South Carolina native, not going to make the cut. Right now, as it stands, he finishes at +3 after a 73 today. Jordan Spieth is right on the cut line at 2 over par as he plays number 15. He's 1 over for the tournament. And to Freddie Couples. Freddie Couples is, as I was coming in, he was hanging in there trying to extend his stay at Augusta. Now, Freddie, 65 years old, has given no hint that this is going to be his last Masters, unlike Bernhard Longer, who had announced that this would be his final one after he had a torn Achilles tendon last year and has come back from that. So a lot of people keeping an eye on Couples as well to see what he might do and if he's going to be able to make the weekend. And he had a 77 today after a 71 yesterday, puts him at 4 over for the tournament, so it does not look like Freddie will be around for the weekend. So that is some of the highlight stuff in round 2 of the Masters at Augusta. More to come from Don Williams in a few minutes. Chris Bergen joining us from the Berge Palace. Meantime, we've got other big stuff to talk about, Berge, on this Friday afternoon. I guess the biggest story locally, the news that came out today, I believe it was first reported by the Greenville News from what I could gather, Malaysia Fulwiley leaving South Carolina, going to be in the transfer portal, John, and transferring out after 2 years. And I cannot say that I'm surprised by that. By the way things played out for her this year, I cannot say I'm surprised that she's decided to go somewhere else where maybe she feels like she can be the featured guard in the offense.
It makes a whole lot of sense, Phil. That and by the way, happy Passover.
Thank you.
Yeah, between that and maybe she's getting, you always have to start going with the NIL, the pay for play money anymore. But yeah, aside from that, I don't quite understand her thinking. But with the return of Raven Johnson, also with the addition of Tanaya Latson from Florida State, both play in the backcourt as well. Maybe she started to get squeezed out a little bit. And if there is a player on the current makeup of the Carolina women's basketball team that would drive Dawn Staley nuts, it's Malaysia Fulwiley. She has games like the one against Maryland where she basically willed them into the Elite Eight, scored 11 points in the fourth quarter and helped them win that ball game. If it's not for her, they don't even advance to the Elite Eight, much less the Final Four. So yeah, I was really surprised. And Phil, you start thinking back to that program and the stability they've had with the roster. This may be the biggest transfer out, considering what they're losing. Second leading scorer, dynamic player, a player that Dawn Staley has called more often than not a generational talent. You and I were talking about this earlier. I think you have to go back to a player like Kelsey Bone. Early in Dawn Staley's career, Bone was going to be the centerpiece around building the program, where she thought she might be the one that gets them to the Final Four and sets that program off and running. It didn't turn out that way because Bone played, I think, 1 year in Columbia before transferring to Texas A&M. But aside from that, I can't think of a more impactful player that has left the program. That maybe Talasia Cooper, but I can't think of anybody that's on par with what Malaysia Fulwiley has brought to that program the first 2 years. Here's a young lady that's 96 points, thereabouts, away from 1,000 in her career already. So, yeah, I was really surprised when I saw this news come out today.
Agree with you on everything you're saying, and I mean, you just don't let an athlete like this walk, especially in women's basketball. I mean, she plays, and maybe this is some of the rub with Dawn Staley. I think I can't speak for Dawn Staley, but as I analyze it from 1,000 feet away, I think Dawn Staley sees a lot of Dawn Staley in Malaysia Fulwiley.
I think you're right.
Same type of athlete, same type of maybe same type of a personality on the court, yet she never let the reins off of her. It's like the old saying, we've said this before, the only person who could hold Michael Jordan under 20 points per game was Dean Smith, because he didn't want a 20-point per game score. He wanted the ball to be shared. He wanted the offense to be balanced. Now, Fulwiley, I know at times she could hurt you as much as help you, but I think the meter was more to the positive side than the negative side in what she brought to the team. You mentioned her points, her assists, just her athletic ability, and that's rare. That's rare this day. So that's a pretty significant loss for South Carolina, and again, with the freedom the players have today to do whatever they want to do when they do it, if you can't take tough coaching, if you can't take tough love by a coach, you just up and leave. And I don't know if that's the case here. I don't know if there are things related to the fact that she's in Columbia and there's personal things and maybe she wants to get away. That could be it as well. But that's a significant loss to the South Carolina basketball team. And I know they've got good players coming in, and I know they just got a good one out of the portal, as you mentioned, a high-scoring guard. But this is homegrown talent and somebody that you kind of nurtured in your program, and it just leave you wondering why this relationship broke at this particular time. When you got a chance, Fulwiley, to be that dominant player next year. Or maybe she just doesn't see the opportunity with Staley's style of coaching and running players in. What if she goes up to UConn? Wouldn't that be something?
That would be interesting.
You don't think he's looking to replace Paige Beckers with somebody like that?
I can't blame him if he is, because you've got to be able to continue to restock the pipeline, and Malaysia Fulwiley is going to fit in. And I would say she could start anywhere she wants except at USC. She only started 3 games throughout her career. But, I mean, here's a young lady who was all freshman last year in the SEC, was the tournament's most valuable player last year in the SEC tournament. And, Phil, this is a relationship I had to go back and look. I'd forgotten. Fulwiley and Dawn Staley, she started recruiting her in the 7th grade. So, I mean, Dawn Staley saw, as you pointed out, and I think it's a very accurate description, she saw herself in Malaysia Fulwiley at a very young age and felt like this is a young lady they had to have. And like I mentioned, she called her a generational talent every time she chatted about her. I would love to know what went on behind the scenes that got us here to today. And is it just as simple as the fact that she doesn't want to sit on the bench and come off the bench for a 3rd consecutive year? She's been a great addition off the bench, almost instant offense. But maybe she's trying to find some place that she can start, and may not be a place that she starts at Carolina next year, especially with the addition of Latson and the return of Raven Johnson.
Well, I have felt, and I don't claim to be a close-up reporter on the Gamecock women's basketball team. I see them enough to have working knowledge, and of course I followed them to Birmingham and to Tampa, so I got a good dose of it there. I could not understand from my perspective, the limited playing time for her and Joyce Edwards, especially when you got into the crunch time. Maybe what I would have done, well, it's an afterthought now, but I mean, maybe you spring those two into the starting lineup against UConn and let them play 30-plus minutes. I know it's going to cost some veterans some playing time, but I think Edwards and Fulwiley probably, pound for pound, player for player, the two most talented players on the team. And to have them sitting on the bench to start a game for X number of minutes, I know maybe the thinking was bring them in and they energize the team and you go on from there. But I don't know. I thought maybe switching that up a little bit would have caught Connecticut off guard, and South Carolina could have maybe gotten off to a better start in that first quarter and not have the disaster happen to them in the national championship game. So Fulwiley moves on, big loss for South Carolina. Then the other big story nationally in college sports is the story that broke last night, started to come out last night, and then more of it today as Pete Nakos of On 3's been all over this story. And if anything's changed in the last few hours, let me know. But this afternoon, Nakos reporting that Nico Iamaleava, the quarterback at Tennessee, did not participate in spring practice yesterday. And we talked about that. Was he going to sit out spring practice? They've got their spring game coming up on Saturday, and that they're now wanting. He was making $2 million per year in that deal he signed out of high school, somewhere between 2.2 and 2.5. Remember that figure of $8 million something being tossed around? So that was tossed around for a 4-year period. Now his representatives want, according to reports, want something in the $4 million range. And they want to get this deal done before the winter portal closed. They wanted to get it done before the winter portal closed. And the quote here is, Tennessee officials said they weren't going to blink. So here we have a stare down at the OK Corral on Rocky Top. And, I mean, I don't want to say I told you so. I'm not one of those who likes to say I told you so to try to be smarter than everybody else in the room. But I said this a few years ago when all this was starting to happen. You're going to have issues with the money. And what happens when a player is not happy with what he's getting paid? And this is exactly where we are. It's exactly where we are. And I'm just going to say this and move on because I'm trying to live in the now and not live in the past. But to my last breath, I will argue that the previous system of rewarding athletes' scholarships to play a sport for a particular school, when you talk about what they're worth. See, the problem here is you don't know what they're worth. The agents are driving the figures sky high. And if you want to keep a guy, you've got to meet it. The beautiful thing about the previous system, if you happen to believe a paid-for education was worth something over a 5-year period, roughly $250,000, $300,000 or more, plus everything you got with it, that, and it was equivalent across the board. Everybody on every team got the same thing. Full scholarship, full room and board, full medical, full travel, full everything else. Now, could they have thrown in a few little things on the side? Sure, we can argue that all night. I just go back to my belief that is how the college game should be played today. It's how it was played for all those decades. And that is what you're worth, in my eyes. A high school kid coming out, I don't care if you can dunk with your feet and throw a football 160 yards, you're worth a scholarship. You're not worth $4 million. You're not worth $3 million. And you're going to drive these schools are going to drive themselves into bankruptcy. Believe it or not, somehow, some way, they're going to drive themselves broke. And this is just the beginning, okay? People watch. So you see this. So who's going to be the next one to step up and say, hey, you know what? I think I'm worth more than the $800,000 I'm getting. I want to renegotiate or I'm transferring. You know, right now with the freedom to transfer, that's the gun to the head that the players have. And there's nothing that the schools can do about it. So to wrap up my view, I think that we've gone down a terrible road here. I said that from the very beginning. I've tried to accept it. I knew this was going to happen. Don't tell me about, well, coaches get paid all this kind of money, they can up and leave. Well, coaches have jobs, and coaches work their way up to those jobs. And they're employees. And, yeah, coaches do ATM their employees by looking at other jobs, maybe going to interview, trying to up the ante where they are now. I know that game is played by coaches as well. But in my mind, there's a separation between the two, and there always will be. And this is the mess now because all these people push for it. Your Jay Billises of the world who believe that players should be just paid as much money as they can go out and earn and negotiate and all that. People like that who push this agenda, well, this is what you got. It's been dumped right in your lap now. And when it comes home to roost, let's see how you deal with it. Your thoughts?
The biggest part of the problem that I have with today's reporting of this story is the fact that his representatives are trying to paint a picture that, well, no, there were no NIL negotiations going on behind the scenes. Don't lie to us. We're not stupid. The kid didn't show up to spring practice today. There's a reason for that. He's not happy with the contract he's got with Tennessee. He's trying to hold out, just like you would do in the NFL when you're not happy with the contract, just like you would do in Major League Baseball when you're not happy with your contract. That's exactly what Nico is doing here. Don't tell us there were no NIL negotiations going on. We can read the room. It's insanity. Now, the question is, if you're Josh Heupel, the head coach at Tennessee, how do you handle this situation, Phil? If you've got all the money in the world, do you give $10 million to Nico just to satisfy and placate him, knowing you might alienate the other 104 guys on your roster? Or do you hold a hard line and say, look, you agreed to this deal. Nobody made you sign this deal. You are going to stick to this deal, and we expect you at the spring game on Saturday, and we expect you to be our quarterback next year, knowing that you may lose him to the transfer portal, and then you have to scramble now because I'm sure all their plans at Tennessee are to have him behind center when the season opens up in late August.
I would think so. And, I mean, this isn't like the NFL where you can fine a player. Players hold out in the NFL or Major League Baseball or all the different leagues. What can you do? You can fine him. You can cut him. You can trade him. Well, right now, college doesn't have that sort of luxury to be able to do that. They are the ones, and they've petted themselves into this corner, and they are the ones who have done just that to themselves. But when you talk about this particular player, is he worth $4 million? Let's take a look at some of his numbers, and we'll do that after the break. Friday edition of Sports Talk from Hotlanta, from Slimy Sardis, and from cool Columbia. We'll be back in a moment.
When I grew up, I want to be a nurse. I want to be an engineer. I want to be a teacher.
There's never been a better time to start making their dreams come true. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan, makes it easy to save for their future education. Contributions are tax deductible, earnings are tax free, and you can start saving right now with any amount. Go to futurescholar.com today to discover the smart, easy way to save for college. That's futurescholar.com.
There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool, your drive-through coffee will be hot, and the car will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call at 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hosteller-Brown. Did you know your will is designed for your assets to pass through the probate court? If you want to keep your loved ones out of court, a revocable trust is a great place to start. Visit lawyerlisa.com for more information and to see how we can help.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Friday, getting down on Friday.
Now, here is a report from Chris Lowe of ESPN, who wrote, right before the winter portal closed, Iamaleva's reps wanted to see his deal up to $4 million. And again, this time as the spring portal opens Wednesday. And according to sources, Tennessee officials said they, quote, weren't going to blink. End of the quote. And he was not according to these reports, he was not at spring practice today at Tennessee. And their spring game is tomorrow. But here's what I want to point out, and this is an original thought by me. I saw this somewhere else, but I thought I'd bring it up. Somebody broke down his season. You know, he's supposed to be all this great quarterback and all that, and maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But you look at some of the tougher opponents that they faced this year and what he did against them. Let's take a look at Alabama. He was 14 of 27, 194 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Against Georgia, 20 of 30, 167 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Against Ohio State, 14 of 31, 104 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Against Florida, he was 16 of 26, 169 yards, no touchdowns, one interception. I mean, he threw 19 touchdown passes, but mostly against the dredges of their schedule. Yeah, 4 against Vanderbilt, 4 against UTEP, 3 against Chattanooga. So, I mean, you're going to pay they believe he's a $4 million quarterback? Come on, you got to show, and you don't win a playoff game to boot? They're pretty nervy.
Yeah.
And you know what? And look at the timing. They know they've got Tennessee up against a wall here. What are you going to do at the end of spring practice if your starting quarterback walks on you?
Well, and that's why I asked you when you said that Tennessee won't blink on this situation. That's why I asked you, do you believe them? And I don't. I think he'll get paid because, as I mentioned earlier, Josh Heupel looks at his team and says, this is a guy who hopefully can get us where we want to go. Now, against Ohio State, the only thing he did was run for 2 touchdowns. But, yeah, in terms of passing, he hasn't lit it up anywhere close to what you would expect a $4 million guy. But you watch. They'll end up paying him because they're fearful that he'll go somewhere else and turn around and beat them.
Well, from what I've read, the buzzards are circling. According to a report I read, several SEC schools are waiting, and they're right there ready to pounce given the opportunity. It's a pretty sick system.
Here's your weekend forecast. It's overcast tonight with a low temperature dipping down to 47. Tomorrow, nicer, a blend of sunshine and clouds to go with a high temperature of 67. For Sunday, absolutely gorgeous. All kinds of sunshine, the high is 72. And we look ahead, much warmer on Monday, more sunshine-filled skies with 83 the high temperature. Have a great weekend. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
Hey y'all, it's Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We're introducing Friday Night Prime Rib Special. Our great chefs at Flight Deck Restaurant have created a great prime rib dinner special, which includes a 10-ounce slow-roasted certified Angus beef prime rib dinner, served with 2 sides of your choice for only $22.95. And if you mention we love Flight Deck, you get a free cookie or a soft drink with your meal. So come see us at Flight Deck Restaurant to enjoy a delicious slow-roasted prime rib dinner. While you're here, check out the new and improved arcade with over 33 games. We at Flight Deck Restaurant thank you, and God bless.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Federal judges in New York and Texas ruled Friday that temporary restraining orders in place to stop the removal of Venezuelans from the U.S. would be expanded to protect more people in both states. Although temporary restraining orders were issued on Wednesday to halt the U.S. government from removing Venezuelans under the Alien Enemies Act, judges in both states broadened the classes to cover all those detained in the Southern District of Texas and all those in federal, state, and local custody in the Southern District of New York. A Louisiana immigration judge has found that the U.S. can deport Columbia University graduate student Mahmoud Khalil as a national security risk. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 619 points. The Nasdaq rose 337. More details at srnnews.com.
Lots of plumbing companies out there. Few are truly local. Time to discover the difference with Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. See, when I faced plumbing woes at the Cohen home, Josh and his dedicated team, well, they were my go-to solution. They make a commitment to exceptional service. They arrived on time, clearly detailed all the costs and procedures, and efficiently handled all my repairs without any surprises. These days, how often do we complain about a lack of customer service out there? With Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, these folks are professional. They're courteous. They're skilled at what they do, and they've earned my trust, and they've earned my recommendation to you. From urgent repairs to the tankless water heater you've always wanted, they've got you covered. Visit franklinplumbing.sc.com or call 799-2222. That's 799-2222. Hey, you tell them Kev sent you from The Point. I'm pretty sure you'll want to thank me later.
Escape the hustle and bustle of everyday life with Spa MD, your sanctuary of rejuvenation. Feel the tension melt away as our expert team guides you through your customized wellness journey. From soothing massages to revitalizing treatments, we promise a remarkable experience that leaves you feeling renewed and empowered. Discover the calm within every visit. Reach out at 251-9400 or online at visitspamd.com to explore your options. Your oasis of tranquility awaits.
Now through May 31st, 2025, buy the house now, reset your rate later with Mortgage Reset from Founders Federal Credit Union. Open a new mortgage or refinance an existing mortgage and get the lowest rate you qualify for now. Set up direct deposit and then you can reset your rate once for free at any time rates drop. That's right, at any time during the life of the loan, you can reset your rate to the lowest rate you qualify for at that time at no additional cost. It's that easy. Visit foundersfcu.com/mortgage to learn more. Find your local mortgage loan officer or to start your application. You can always start your application and save your progress to complete later. Not a member with Founders yet? Don't wait. Visit us online or stop by an office to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Membership qualification required. Equal housing lender. Institution NMLS. Identifier number 410646.
Groucho's Deli is the Midland's most loved, historic, and awarded deli and has been for decades, serving trademark subs like the STP Dipper with melty Swiss over roast beef, turkey, and bacon bits on a soft sub roll and served with Groucho's famous 45 sauce. Come into any of our 8 Midlands locations and see for yourself or pick up with fast, convenient, and friendly service at Grouchos.com or on the Groucho's app and sign up for the Groucho's Rewards and Birthday Brownie Club.
Georgia, the whole day through, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Friday edition of Sports Talk. It's Masters Week. It's Masters Weekend now upon us. What a great day in Augusta, and what a great weekend it's going to be, because the tournament is as tight as it can be, and you got a great mix of big names and others at the top of the leaderboard. Let's welcome into Sports Talk once again the master of all masters reporters, covering over 4 decades of walking the hills and valleys of Augusta National. He's the godfather of Sports Talk. He is Don Williams.
Is that my introduction?
That's your cue.
That was pretty good. Phil.
Yep. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How about you? You've been watching all afternoon?
Well, I'm actually in Atlanta, so I drove by Augusta at about 3 o'clock. I saw the weather. I went through the weather that was heading y'all's way. I came through the rain. I came through the wind. I'm listening on Sirius XM with Mike Tirico, who can't figure out if it's Bernhard Longer or Bernhard Langer. He just called him. He called him both ways. I know this is kind of a tough day for you because I think you have followed Bernhard every round of every Masters tournament that you have covered, and today was his final round.
Yeah, it was a tough last 4 holes, Phil, because
I really thought he was, he had it sewn up. On number 15, he's 88 yards. Simple wedge shot onto the green, 2-putt for par, move on. And he hit it 1 yard short of his target, and it spun back into the water. And, of course, he still had a chance. All he had to do was par 18. But 18 was probably playing the toughest of any hole today. And he had about a 10 or 11-foot putt for par, and it grazed the edge. So that's about as agonizing as it can get. But he played really well. Brooks Koepka had a similar problem, except he was one inside the cut line when he went to 18, so he decided to throw an 8 up at the board.
Wow.
So it was a tough hole today.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing on the radio. What do you think of Justin Rose's day? I mean, he's still your leader. He didn't make a huge move today. Do you think he's satisfied with the fact that he shot 1 under and he maintained his position atop the board? Or do you think maybe he's a little frustrated that he didn't add a little bit more to it and perhaps stretch things out a little bit?
Well, it was definitely an easier day to score, and he played early when it was especially easy. It was really tough, and you talk about Bernhard, he kind of got caught up in it. The winds came up at about 3 or 4 o'clock, and those who had to finish and are finishing as we speak had to battle some winds that nobody had to battle that played in the morning. So Rose played in the morning, and his game wasn't as sharp. He didn't make too many bad errors. He just wasn't sharp. Saved par on a number of holes, so to shoot 1 under as he did, I think he would tell you that he should have probably shot a couple of shots better than that. So, but you're never going to be disappointed to be leading at the 36-hole mark as you go into the weekend. But you mentioned a mix of big names and others, but it looks very strong, Phil. I mean, Scheffler's going to be there. Rory, as I kind of thought he might. I don't know if I said it last night, but I was not a bit surprised to see him come out today and put 66 on the board. I just felt like, when I went back and looked at those 2 double bogeys he made yesterday, they weren't bad shots that caused him to they were unfortunate. He chipped it into the water on 15 from over the green. That's a misjudgment of where to land the ball. And on 17, it was a 3-putt. So, I don't think he walked off saying, man, my game fell apart. He just made mistakes, and on a course like Augusta, they can add up quickly. He came back out today, started slowly, had a birdie on number 2, otherwise nothing but pars until he got to the back 9, and then just took off from there, as he can do. He can get hot as a firecracker, and he did that on the back 9. Will not be in the final group tomorrow. I believe that will be Bryson DeChambeau's honor to join Justin Rose, but Rory will be right behind him. So you got Scheffler, you got DeChambeau, you got Rory, and you got Justin Rose. And, of course, there are a host of others with 36 holes that have a chance. But that's a pretty strong leaderboard. I think you're going to see some pretty good TV numbers this weekend.
Oh, I would think so. What about DeChambeau in his round? And he played himself right into contention today. As you mentioned, he had just 1 bogey at 16. Otherwise, a clean card with the birdies. Just a very consistent round for him today. A good start, made the turn at 32, and then held it together on the backside.
He really did. And, of course, I think we should stop being surprised when DeChambeau plays well. We kind of, unless you're a LIV fan, and I haven't really met one of those yet, you don't know how he's playing coming into these tournaments. You can look at the finishes that they have on that tour, but it seems like you don't see that he's winning every week on the LIV tour. But he's like Koepka used to do. He is showing up for these tournaments. Augusta has not been one of his better venues. And I think, and I'm doing this from memory, but I don't think didn't he par both of the par 5s on the back, 13 and 15? I was a little surprised at that. And then he bogeyed 16. But still, it was a really, he got on a little bit of a roll on the front side, played really well, and he will be a threat. What do you think of if it happened? And it could happen if you had McIlroy and DeChambeau playing together on Sunday after what happened last year at the U.S. Open.
That would be sensational. As you mentioned, Rose and DeChambeau will form the last group tomorrow. We could have Rory and Scotty playing in the penultimate group tomorrow. Scheffler's still on the course, so is Jason Day. They're tied for 6th. How cool would that be to have those 4 finishing it up tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah, I think Scheffler's got to make a birdie to knock Corey Connors out of that pairing with McIlroy as it stands right now. And Corey Connors is not to be overlooked. The Canadian is a strong player, President's Cup guy, often in contention, has won, and has played probably the steadiest of anybody that's in the top 10. Just very solid both yesterday and today. So he would be somebody that most folks don't really know that well, but good player. And there are some others that are like Morikawa's playing well today. Schauffele played well today. So there's a bunch of folks that are down at 4 under, 3 under, and even 2 under that are still a part of this golf tournament.
We should talk about as well, talking with Don Williams from Augusta, covering the Masters once again. Terrell Hatton is right there as well. He's tied for 3rd. He's finishing up. Should be on 17 now. He is 6 under as he plays his final 2 holes. That's another one you got to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I should have mentioned him because he probably has been, again, he's on that other tour, but he's been one of the hottest players in the world in the last year. And, of course, he's so much fun to watch because, like John Rahm, he wears his emotions on his sleeve, and he can get hot also, just like Rory and DeChambeau. And he's been around these kind of events enough in the past that I think he's ready if his game is sharp. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him in the hunt on Sunday afternoon. Not at all.
Give you a chance to say something nice about Nick Dunlap. He goes from a 90 to a 71. I mean, I think the guy's
that's remarkable.
Yeah.
I think that's remarkable. How that shows some. He came in off of 3 missed cuts, so his game's obviously not where he wants it to be. And 90, I mean, I don't know how you even find a reason for that when nobody else shot worse than 79. The next to last guy was 79, and you're 90. That's incredibly bad. And then to come back and shoot under par today, I mean, most people would have WD'd. And that shows a lot of guts, a lot of intestinal fortitude. And, my hat's off to him.
Yeah. Where will you position yourself tomorrow? Do you walk the course?
Yeah, I will. And obviously, one of those last 3 or 4 groups, but boy, they're all going to be jammed, aren't they? I mean, everybody's going to be following the last group. And then McIlroy, I think those crowds could look, especially if Scheffler's with him, which is probably doubtful, but if those could look like Tiger Woods crowds tomorrow. So, and the weather's supposed to be ideal, a little bit cooler. We got more rain than we thought, and thus the greens were pretty soft, and that's why the scoring was better today than it was yesterday. I'm going to get out of the forecasting business. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's got to get, with this wind, it's got to get a little bit tougher tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. Hey, I've got a question for you before you cut me loose.
Fire away.
Full Wiley, is she gone?
She's in the portal, John. She is flushing. Let's give Don a flush. I don't know he knows the flush that we give for the portal, John. Plumber, let's give him a flush.
Phil.
Yes, Don. There we go. Yeah. She has flushed herself out of the program.
So that when you enter the portal, that means you don't come back, or does she have that option?
Well, it depends on the coach. Shane Beamer will tell you you leave unless you've got some really pressing reason to leave. Like he did bring back a player who left 2 years ago, went to Florida State, came back, but that was because of family reasons. But I don't know what the reason here for her leaving happens to be, but it depends on the coach. Yes, you could come back if you still in good standing with the program, but they got to want to take you back. So that remains to be seen.
I just really wanted to make sure that you knew who Phil Wiley was. That's all.
Fulwiley. Hey, but Don, how do you like our use of the word Portal John? We copyrighted that word here. We trademarked it. We created that, the Portal John with the flush. You're flushing yourself out. How do you like that?
That's outstanding, Phil.
Thank you, Don. I learned from the best. I learned from the best. Don, you have a great weekend enjoying the Masters.
Phil,
Thanks,
enjoy
Don.
Atlanta. Are you with your daughter?
I am.
All right. Well, you and Marisa have a great time.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
See ya.
That's Don Williams, godfather of Sports Talk.
Is he driving back and forth from Columbia to Augusta?
That's
every
Don.
day?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He knows every crevice on I-20, as I do as well.
I'm sure, but good grief.
Yeah. Thank you, Don. We appreciate that. MJ coming up at 7:05. George Bryan at 7:35. Who brings you more golf, more Masters talk than we do? Nobody over the public airwaves. And some baseball talk. We touch them all. Coming up after the break.
This is Major Billy Downer with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Boating season is here, and as you get ready to go out on the water this spring and summer, make sure you have all the required safety equipment on board. Check for a sound device. A horn or whistle will suffice for most boats. Inspect all of your life jackets. Make sure they're in good condition and are the correct size for all of your passengers. If your boat is over 16 feet, you will need to make sure you have an approved throwable device on board as well. Remember, boating safety is no accident.
Now through May 31st, 2025, buy the house now and reset your rate later with Mortgage Reset from Founders Federal Credit Union. Open a new mortgage or refinance an existing mortgage and get the lowest rate you qualify for now. Then you can reset it once for free anytime rates drop. That's right, at any time during the life of the loan, you can reset your rate to the lowest rate you qualify for at that time at no additional cost. Visit foundersfcu.com/mortgage to learn more. Find your local mortgage loan officer or start your application. Terms and conditions apply. Membership qualification required. Equal housing lender, institution, NMLS identifier number 410646.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
If you're looking to grow your business, Sports Talk is here to help. Whether you're a small business owner or part of a large company in the Palmetto State, we want to hear about what you do. Sports Talk has a proven track record of delivering real results to our partners, and advertising with us is probably more affordable than you think. Our network of affiliates gives us the flexibility to work with budgets of all sizes, and our statewide coverage means that whether you're in Greenville, Orangeburg, Chesterfield, Charleston, Woodruff, or anywhere in between, your future customers are listening to Sports Talk every night. Radio remains one of the most effective ways to reach potential customers, and with our extensive reach across South Carolina, your message will be heard. Every business has a story, and we're here to help share yours. Let's find success together. Email us at sportstalkmedianetwork@gmail.com or visit sportstalksc.com to learn more about how we can help grow your business.
All right, a lot of baseball going on. Clemson just getting underway with their game against Stanford at Doug Kingsmore. And that game was delayed a half hour because of weather. So they're just getting underway. Other games are underway as we speak, including Coastal and Georgia State. Georgia State's up 2-0, bottom of the second. South Carolina will be playing Texas A&M coming up a little bit after 7 o'clock. I'm reading all this off of the wonderful site, Palmetto State Baseball. Palmetto State Baseball, operated by one Rudy Jones, Rudy Tootie. And I mean, how deep is Rudy into baseball? You want to score on Alice Lloyd and Bob Jones? Rudy's got it, 2-1, top of the third. Welcome in, Rudy. How are you?
Phil, I'm just figuring out how I'm going to follow Don Williams. Don and
That's a tough act.
Don and I can't remember for sure. I'm getting old. We either roomed on the same dorm for 1 year, or he had a friend that was up there, and he was up there all the time. So that's how I first met Don. But anyway,
That's
I'm
awesome.
just thankful to be here. Yeah.
That is, yeah. Aren't we all? Aren't we all? Let me ask you something about South Carolina. I'm sure you were watching last night as they lost that game at A&M. I was watching as well. And, I mean, the kind of year they're having, to have a home run pulled back in the top of the ninth inning that might have eventually led to a great victory, that just kind of sums up the Gamecocks' year, wouldn't you say?
It does. I mean, it was, maybe 2 feet, if that, from, being a home run. And the guy for A&M just made a great play. And it does. It's kind of the way things have gone for them. You look at it, until this week, South Carolina did not have a loss to an unranked, Mississippi State. Until last week, they did not have a loss to an unranked team. But it's not getting any easier, and nobody in the SEC is going to feel sorry for them. I know they're going to look back at that Sunday Oklahoma game that got away from them and keep thinking, unless something happens drastically better. If they get up with 10, 11, 12 wins in the conference, and that's not going to be easy, and do not get it at-large bid, they're going to say, man, we had Oklahoma beat in the ninth inning and, did not get it. But, I mean, that's the thing about baseball. You never know. A team could be just ice cold and then all of a sudden get hot and, everything goes right for them. I'm sure that the Carolina folks are hoping that all these breaks that have gone against them are going to start going their way sometime.
Absolutely. Couple of finals you've got posted. Benedict beat Tuskegee 9-5. Erskine beat Chowan 8-5. I drove by the Benedict Baseball Park yesterday, coming up through that part of Columbia. Nice little baseball park they have there, and I had the thought about, one day if I ever find the time to do it, I'm going to go out there and sit in the ballpark and watch Benedict play baseball. Now, I know at one time they were famous for stealing bases, right? Are they still doing that?
They don't steal quite as many as they did. Now, this year they've got some guys going to hit home runs. A gentleman named Juan Guardado. He's got at least 10. I don't know if he hit one today or not. Tuskegee has not posted the box. But Benedict is playing well right now. I'll tell you one little interesting tidbit. I was down there to watch a game. Went over to watch Benedict play Virginia Lynchburg, and it was probably like, late March, early April, before I went over to Columbia to watch South Carolina play. And the pitcher for Virginia Lynchburg was on the mound wearing a toque, what we used to call a toboggan, a knit cap, as he was pitching. But Coach Young does a good job at Benedict. He gets in kids from all over. He has connections. He's originally from the Los Angeles area, I believe, or at least he lived there for a while. And, they've got a good team this year. It's probably the best one they've had in a little while. And they're now 6 games over 500, I think, 4 games over 500 in the conference. So they've got a pretty good chance at making the SIAC tournament if nothing happens. But, he does a good job with limited resources.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Let me drop in an update from the Masters. Scotty Scheffler just birdied 17, so he goes to 6 under. So we could get that dream double pairing of Rose and DeChambeau and McIlroy and Scheffler. We'll have to see how things work out here on the 18th. What about South Carolina State?
Excuse me, Phil. I was going to add an additional update. Assuming he can extricate himself from the trees on 18 when he drove his tee shot. So, yeah, he's not quite in yet.
Okay. I always hated that when I make a birdie and then hit the next drive into the woods. You want to celebrate that birdie for a little while, but now you got to dig yourself out of the woods. Back to Rudy. I was going to ask you, South Carolina State used to play baseball. They don't any longer. Do you foresee a time when they might bring it back?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd love to see it happen. I contacted somebody down there. It's been probably 5 years ago or so. And the person I contacted said, they didn't foresee doing it any time in the future. I would love to see it happen. If I ever win the lottery, of course, I got to buy a ticket first. I would, I'd make a donation to all these smaller schools so they could kind of bolster their baseball programs. State they had Gene Richards, Willie Mays Aikens who went in the major leagues. They probably have others that I can't recall offhand, but State's good, a nice athletic program. I'd love to see them have baseball. There are now 1, 2, 3. I think there are 4 HBCUs in the state that have baseball, and they've all working hard. Morris has struggled this year, but Benedict's doing well, like I mentioned. Claflin has struggled. They're doing better than they did last year. They only won 1 game each of the last 2 seasons, and so they've already got 5 wins this year. They're on a little bit of a losing streak, but they're making a commitment. Voorhees has a winning record, so it's I think just seeing more players in major leagues that look like you. I mean, you know what I mean? And for so many years, it seems like the number of African American players in the major leagues has been down. And to get a few areas where it's really picked up, it's hot. I mean, there's some good HBCUs in the country that play baseball, but I'd like to see some more. Especially like I say, SC State.
Now, Clemson has taken a 2-0 lead on Stanford. They get a wild pitch to score a run, and they get a single by Priest to score a run. So they're up 2-0 after an inning. We've got a matchup this weekend of Winthrop and Upstate. So we've got the former Upstate coach, Coach McGuire, now at Winthrop facing his old team.
Yeah, and I think that's a matter of, well, I don't know about money itself, but maybe more of a commitment to baseball. I know that they're on target to sell the most tickets or have the best home season attendance they've ever had. And I believe they also posted they've already set a season record for season tickets, or a school record for season tickets. And, going back to when Horace Tuberville started the program, they were very competitive first at NAI and then knock off a South Carolina or another top team on occasion. And, the draw of, I'm assuming it's still majority female enrollment. That draw, close to Charlotte, so if, a kid enjoys going to the big city, that's not too bad, too. I think there's a lot of advantages to Winthrop, USC Upstate. They've got a very nice little ballpark. I don't know if it's the perception that it's like more of a commuter school, if you will, and I don't know how active the social/athletics life is for kids that do stay on campus. But I think I'd say the Big South is a nice league. It's got some good teams in there, and I think Winthrop is poised to be one of the better ones. I mean, you talk about them, you talk about PC. They've been doing well, and I hear that music, so I'll let you close out.
Okay, Rudy, you're learning, man. Remind everybody, Palmetto State Baseball. And you want to keep up with all the other teams besides the Gamecocks, the Tigers, the Shants, College of Charleston that we talk about a lot. Rudy's got his eyes on everybody else as well. Thank you, Rudy. We'll talk to you next week.
Phil, thanks for your time. Thanks for the plug.
You got it, buddy. Thank you. We'll be right back.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. China announces countermeasures raising tariffs on U.S. goods from 84% to 125% starting Saturday.
The U.S. and China have escalated their trade war by raising tariffs, even as President Donald Trump hit a pause on tariffs for other countries. A China Commerce Ministry spokesman says, announcing the countermeasure, the U.S. alternately raising abnormally high tariffs on China has become a numbers game, which has no practical economic significance and will become a joke in the history of the world economy. The ministry adds it's filing another lawsuit with the World Trade Organization on the raising of U.S. tariffs. I'm Charles Duluthesman.
U.S. markets rallied today despite the news. Yesterday, the Supreme Court ruled that Kilmar Abrego Garcia must return to the U.S. after being mistakenly deported to El Salvador. Today, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt sidestepped a question about whether El Salvador's president might bring the deported Maryland man with him when he visits Washington on Monday.
The Supreme Court made their ruling last night very clear that it's the administration's responsibility to facilitate the return, not to effectuate the return. I believe the Department of Justice just filed another brief in the lower court. I would defer you to that.
U.S. District Judge Paula Zinnes ordered the U.S. to provide daily updates on the status of its plans to bring Abrego Garcia back. A Louisiana immigration judge has found that the U.S. can deport Columbia University graduate student Mahmoud Khalil as a national security risk. Immigration Judge Jamie Comans made the determination on Friday. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 619 points, the Nasdaq rose 337. More at townhall.com.
World is spiraling out of control. Financial markets are extremely volatile. Global conflicts are escalating and inflation is everywhere. How do you protect yourself when everything's uncertain? The answer is gold. Specifically, the 2025 1-ounce Gold Eagle in flawless NGC MS70 condition from Global Coin. It's a lifeline in these chaotic times. A rock-solid asset that has outperformed for millennia. Call 888-800-1045 right now to lock in this stunning coin for dealer cost. Just $3,199. Free shipping. No sales tax. Secure this tangible asset you can hold today. The first 100 callers get a free MS70 2025 Silver Eagle, 2 U.S. minted legal tender coins to shield you from the storm. Global Coin stands by you with a 30-day return policy because your security matters. Go to globalcoindeal.com or call 888-800-1045 today. They're knowledgeable, professional, and trustworthy. No gimmicks, just incredible coins at incredible prices. 888-800-1045. Call before it's too late.
A chaotic week on Wall Street ends with big gains.
Stocks jumped in another manic day on Wall Street, but the falling value of the dollar and other swings in financial markets suggest that worries about President Donald Trump's trade war remain high. The S&P 500 rose 1.8% Friday after veering between more gains and losses in what has turned out to be a historic week full of huge swings. The S&P gained more than 5% for the week. The Dow Jones Industrial Average also swung between losses and gains before closing up 619 points. It's about 1.6%. The Nasdaq Composite rose 2.1%. Treasury yields climbed in the bond market. The yield on the 10-year Treasury rose to 4.49%. Seth Sutel, New York.
Consumer sentiment fell sharply in April for the fourth straight month, as the trade war has fueled worries about the health of the job market and inflation. News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith P.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. It's overcast tonight with a low temperature dipping down to 47. Tomorrow, nicer, a blend of sunshine and clouds to go with a high temperature of 67. For Sunday, absolutely gorgeous. All kinds of sunshine, the high is 72. And we look ahead, much warmer on Monday, more sunshine-filled skies with 83 the high temperature. Have a great weekend. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point look for weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Welcome back in, everybody. It's Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Friday edition, heading into what should be a glorious weekend around the Southeast. Hope you get out and enjoy it, whatever it is that you decide to do. Baseball, South Carolina, Texas A&M, they're underway, top of the first, and no score between the Gamecocks and the Aggies. Clemson on top of Stanford, 2-0 in the middle of the second inning. We'll update other scores a little bit later on, but right now let's go back to Augusta as we continue our triple coverage of the Masters Round 2 today. We'll have George Bryan with us in our next half hour. MJ Ward with us now from Augusta once again to give us his perspective on what he has seen and what he is watching. MJ, as we are seeing Scotty Scheffler have an opportunity to finish up strongly, but he's apparently not going to do that this afternoon, if you're keeping an eye on that.
Well, it's I'll tell you this, Phil.
the world number one had his moments, and it could have went a lot of different ways today. He had some situations out there with the wind and being able to adjust, but he was fortunate to get out of today's round what he got out of the round. I mean, it could have went a lot of different ways, and it was kind of unexpected when you see him 3-putt twice, and for him to get the break that he got on the 12th hole, they'll have to put that in the highlight reel, because if he wins this, to get that break to come off the hill and then he chips it in the hole. But there was some flaws today. I mean, he was fortunate. The wind in the afternoon was the story. Okay, in the morning, not as much. In the afternoon, the velocities, were varying at certain times. And then the other factor was the green started to get really firm, and you really needed to be within a certain amount of distance from the hole, because if you started leaving yourself long putts, inevitably you're going to make some mistakes, and that happened to him. But, he's not out of it. And I will say it's the same thing that I said last night about, what Rory did today. Rory played exceptional golf, superb round, no question about it, got back into the tournament. But, now that these guys are repaired with each other tomorrow, we're going to find out a lot of things. I mean, obviously everybody knows Saturday is moving day at Augusta, so it'll be interesting to see how they really get back into that flow, with conditions being what they were. But it was an interesting day with a lot of different people making their moves. Credit to Justin Rose, to stay where he is. But playing in the morning today turned out to be advantageous in terms of being able to score effectively. And if you look at the leaderboard, most of the guys that are near the top, they were played more towards the morning than the afternoon tee time. But Scotty was very fortunate on an 18 today. I mean, that could be anything when you miss it left there. There's no guarantee that you're even going to have a shot. And he kept his cool. I mean, that's what you got to do in situations like this. He got out of town today, and hopefully he'll be able to regroup tomorrow. But there's a lot of top names at the board. Obviously, Rory, Bryson is right there. Can Justin hold it together for 2 more days? Be interesting to see if that's the case. Shane Lowry is up there. I mean, Tyrrell Hatton, these are all top flight players, man, and it's anybody's ball game about what's going to happen, and we'll still see we're going to see what happens with 36 to go.
Do you see anybody further down the list, not in that first cut, let's say, of the top tier, let's say after your group that's tied for 5th, let's go to the next group tied for 9th. You see anybody in there who could go really low tomorrow and find themselves in a great position on Sunday? I see like Matsuyama is there in 12th. Patrick Reed is 12th. Oberg is also tied for 12th. You see anybody perhaps making a big move from down there tomorrow?
Well, I mean, if we had weather conditions like this for guaranteed Saturday and Sunday, in other words, not as much wind in the morning and then more in the afternoon, yeah, you could see situations where guys would, potentially not be able to score out, and then the guys going earlier. I mean, I remember when Zach Johnson won years back. I mean, it was cold air that was in Augusta the entire tournament, and the guys that were at the lead, they weren't able to do anything. They just couldn't. They couldn't manufacture scores. I don't see that with the case here. I mean, I think, the winning score of this, I mean, unless conditions really get freaky, you're going to be in that 12 to 14 under, window. Something like that is probably going to be the case. I mean, you got so much talent sitting behind you here. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me that a Bryson or a Rory or Scotty, I mean, they could play the weekend, Phil. I mean, guys of that caliber, they could shoot 132 to 134 on the weekend and play lights out golf. I mean, they're very capable of doing that. Now, whether they do it, well, that's what we have. That's what they call sports. That's what you play for, and you find out. I don't see somebody coming from that far back, because to take your premise of a question, the guys at the top have to stall out, and then somebody else has to come up. And I just think there's just too many names. Now, if there was only one person, say at 8 under, and you're say at 2 under or 3 under, you can do that because it's only one golfer. But when you got the kind of talent that's really at the top here, it's hard for me to conceive that by lightning, all these guys are going to take a powder on the weekend. That's going to be hard, for me. I can't imagine Scotty shooting anything like he did today. I fully expect he's capable. 65, 66 is there, but again, this is all about, Phil, really getting in the flow of what's going to go on. And the morning period today gave an opportunity for players that went out then to really set the terms. And then the afternoon guys, they were fighting out there. I mean, it was a tough stroll for just about everybody out there, and the scores showed it.
Yeah. Visiting with MJ Ward from Golf Today over in Augusta and talking about today's second round heading into the weekend of competition. So Justin Rose will carry the lead into the weekend. Slept on it overnight. He'll sleep on it overnight once again. What did you think of his performance today in that shoot 71? So he didn't move the needle all that much. I'm not suggesting he played conservatively or anything like that, trying to protect the lead. But why do you think he wasn't able to stretch the lead, to go low like he did yesterday? What did you see from him today that kept him from doing that?
Bill, is that playing in the lead of a major championship, it is a mental grind because, you have to look at things in a positive way. You cannot play safe, Phil. I mean, when I say safe, you just can't take the air out of the golf ball and then think it's just going to be, hey, I'll just kind of milk it around the golf course, because the guys behind you, they can make up tremendous ground. I mean, that's how capable they are. I mean, Bryson is a good example of that. Clearly, Rory is when he's on his A game, as he was today. It's going to be tough for Justin, man. I mean, he's got 36 holes to go. Yeah, 44 years old, but, clearly there's some memories in the past when he's been in the lead. He hasn't been able to finish it out. I mean, there's been 4 previous times, not counting this year, when he was in the lead after round 1 and then it just didn't happen. That could be different this time. It could be. But the talent that sits behind you, you have the current U.S. Open champion. You have the number 2 player in the world who's won twice this year, including the Players. And then you have the 800-pound gorilla, who hasn't won this year and is certainly looking to, get back into that column. That's heavy-duty territory. I said going into the time we talked on Wednesday night that I fully expected Scheffler and McIlroy to be there. Now, that's not a great observation by many people, myself included, because you got the 2 best players. But I think that we're going to have one of the real ultimate showdowns as this thing plays its way through. And if that happens to be between DeChambeau, Rory, and Scotty, I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that. That's about as good as it gets in world golf. I mean, period. It's tremendous to see it, but you never know. I mean, certain things can happen at Augusta National. We saw that today. Today was a great example how wind conditions can ultimately change everything. But, yeah, I would watch out, for those particular players. It'll be interesting to see how Rory and DeChambeau play off each other. I mean, given what took place at Pinehurst, last June, DeChambeau, his talent is certainly there, and it would not surprise me if any of these guys really go low tomorrow, and then we get into a real dogfight come Sunday between only a handful of players. I think that's very, very possible.
Last thing, we'll let you go. How do you think they will set up the course tomorrow as far as pin placements? I know there are some traditional pin placements on Saturday, but do you see anything out of the ordinary related to that?
Well, I think the main thing, fans, if they saw it today, the 2 par 5s on the back 9 are no longer what I call lame duck par 5s, where you could just make birdie at will, maybe even make eagles. Those 2 par 5s, 13 was lengthened a few years ago, and now getting around the corner and the second shots that you're playing, 15 to hit to that plateau green, as we've seen players, okay? I mean, that is no easy golf shot when you're playing off of a downhill lie to a plateaued green. But the 2 par 5s on the back 9, they used to be the holes where you could kind of regroup. They're going to put a challenge on players about whether you go for the green, whether you lay up. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they set the golf course up. There's going to probably be some pins that they're going to make accessible. But realistically, Phil, one of the things about Augusta that you have to realize at the Masters, the first 5 holes don't really get much talked about because they come early in the day. But watch tomorrow to see who can get off to the best start. And in my mind, that always sets the tone about who's being chased and who's being followed. And the first 5 holes, especially the opening tee shot, it really sets the terms in terms of your nerves and whether or not you can get into a quick flow of some kind of comfort zone. If you're not in that comfort zone through the first 5 holes, then there starts to be some question marks about whether or not your game is going to be one way or the other. So watch those first 5 holes and then see how 13 and 15 play tomorrow, because the way Augusta has set those par 5s, they are no longer automatic birdies, and they could be potential bogey, double bogey holes.
We'll keep a watch on that. We thank you, as always. Great stuff from Augusta. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All I can tell you, fellas, make sure you fill up your popcorn canister, because it's going to be something to see.
It is. It's going to be a great weekend. Thank you, MJ Ward from Golf Today. You can read his stuff. Look up Golf Today and read MJ's commentary and coverage of the golf world. Every single day he's writing something about the great game of golf, not just here in the United States, but internationally as well. Thank you, MJ. Update, Clemson 3-0 on Stanford. They're in the bottom of the second. Tigers are threatening with second and third and 2 outs. Listy with the latest RBI for the Tigers, a ground out to first base. Got another run home. Bottom of the first, A&M and the Gamecocks are scoreless, but A&M has the bases loaded and 1 out. College of Charleston leading Delaware 3-0. They play in the bottom of the second. And I got to get a Coastal update. You got a Coastal update in front of you?
Chanticleers are up 5-3 over Georgia State, bottom of the fourth. The difference right now is Sebastian Alexander grand slam for Coastal.
Very good. And they're playing here in Atlanta, right?
They are. Yeah, you can go over there and watch some baseball tonight if you get everything else done.
No, I expect I will be, after dinner, going to bed tonight. I am pooped. And this is 5 straight weekends on the road somewhere, so I am one tired puppy. All right, we will do recruiting after the bottom of the hour break. Little message there for the plumber. We'll do that after the bottom of the hour. And then we'll have George with us and a special guest with George. After the break, though, we're going to look back at the race at Darlington last Sunday, the Goodyear 400. Jeff Owens will join us to share his thoughts on how things looked at the Lady in Black. That was an overtime race, so you can't complain about that. It did have a exciting finish to it. We'll be back.
This is Major Billy Downer with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Boating season is here, and as you get ready to go out on the water this spring and summer, make sure you have all the required safety equipment on board. Check for a sound device. A horn or whistle will suffice for most boats. Inspect all of your life jackets. Make sure they're in good condition and are the correct size for all of your passengers. If your boat is over 16 feet, you will need to make sure you have an approved throwable device on board as well. Remember, boating safety is no accident.
Now through May 31st, 2025, buy the house now and reset your rate later with Mortgage Reset from Founders Federal Credit Union. Open a new mortgage or refinance an existing mortgage and get the lowest rate you qualify for now. Then you can reset it once for free anytime rates drop. That's right. At any time during the life of the loan, you can reset your rate to the lowest rate you qualify for at that time at no additional cost. Visit foundersfcu.com/mortgage to learn more. Find your local mortgage loan officer or start your application. Terms and conditions apply. Membership qualification required. Equal housing lender. Institution in NLS identifier number 410646.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Love it when it's forward, love it when it's fast, love it when the leader's caught, the pack is moving past, love it when the man
Time to talk NASCAR here on Sports Talk. Nobody better to do that with us than Jeff Owens, longtime beat writer covering the NASCAR scene. Of course, doing other things these days, but still has a great working knowledge of what's going on the NASCAR Cup Series scene. And, of course, they came through Darlington last week, Jeff, and looked like it was a great show for the fans at Darlington. Overtime race on Sunday. What'd you think about what you saw and how that thing played out?
Well, I think it was kind of a typical Darlington race, Phil. It was, you saw a guy check out and dominate for a while. Phil got strung out a little bit. And then we had some drama at the end. And you had different guys step up there and lead the race. And, we thought William Byron was going to win. We thought Tyler Reddick was going to win. We thought Ryan Blaney was going to win. And then all of a sudden, here comes Denny Hamlin, and he wins. That's kind of the way it plays out a lot at Darlington. And you have a lot of strategy. We saw tires be a factor. And, of course, green flag pit stops were a huge factor, and that's kind of what cost William Byron the race. But then we saw Ryan Blaney saving his tires, going on a long run, chasing down the leader, and then, lo and behold, here comes the caution flag. And that sets it. It fell right into Denny Hamlin's hands. But good race. I mean, kind of what you expect at Darlington, and I thought it was a good show and a good finish.
Okay, I'm going to let Chris ask the next question because I know what it is that he wants to say.
I'll get to Kyle Larson in just a second, Jeff, but I felt cheated because if William Byron's going to lead almost 3/4 of the race, I wanted to see him finish the deal. I mean, it would have been a quarter of a century since the last guy who led every single lap of the race. How disappointing. I know he came back and finished second, but how disappointing was that for William Byron not to finish off what he started?
Yeah, it had to be, particularly at a track like Darlington, a historic track, big race. You want to finish the deal, and if you got a chance to dominate it, that's a big, big feather in your cap. But, yeah, they made a mistake. They came in, they waited too long to pit under that green flag pit stop. And then the stop was just a tick off, and then he comes out behind Tyler Reddick and I think Christopher Bell, and at that point they were done. And that just shows you how fine the line is at a place like Darlington. One mistake, even though you got a dominant car, and I think he did have a dominant car, one mistake can cost you. And we saw the same thing with Ryan Blaney. I think Blaney, if he'd ever gotten out front, he had a dominant car as well, but they messed up early, and he was constantly battling back all day long. And he came back and had the race won, and then the caution flag gets him. So that's what happens at tracks like that. Tough tracks, the cream kind of rises to the top, but a lot of times it's decided on a pit stop or a mistake or something like that. So that added a lot of drama to it. But, yeah, I've seen a couple of videos this week of their crew chief, and that was a pretty disappointing deal to lose it like that.
Now to the question Phil wants me to ask, because I asked Josh Harris about this on Tuesday. Explain to me, help me understand, for those of us who aren't insiders like yourself, why does NASCAR allow a driver who was 200 miles off the pace, as Kyle Larson was, to get back out on the racetrack? And I get it, it could have been anybody, but he influences the outcome of the race, because if he doesn't wreck in turn 2, that is Ryan Blaney's victory on Sunday. Instead, he hands it to Denny Hamlin, so much so that Hamlin almost thanked him in his post-race speech. Why does NASCAR allow drivers that are that far off the pace to be able to get back on the racetrack, Jeff?
Yeah, and if you heard Blaney's interview after the race, he was, almost halfway insinuating that, Larson got spun on purpose, to help his teammate and cost him the race. I don't think that's what happened. I don't think he thinks that's what happened, but that was the emotion of the race. But here, they changed the rule back this year. So for years, if you fall out of the race, you go to the garage, you're allowed to fix your car and come back and run laps because you're going to gain points that way. And those points are critical right now with the playoff system under the current system. So they stopped that for several years there. They said if you go to the garage, you got like 10 minutes to fix your car, and if you can't do it, you're out of the race. Well, there are a lot of complaints about that, and it was because of the playoff points. It becomes critical. And so NASCAR changed the rule this season, saying that now you can go in the garage, you can work on your car, and you can come back out and run laps with a damaged car as long as you meet the minimum speed. And Kyle Larson met the minimum speed, so he was allowed to finish the race with a damaged car. I kind of agree with that. It's weird, and, there's both sides of the story. But if every single playoff point is critical and valuable, you can't just send a guy to the garage and say you're done. Those points, he earned points by going out there and running laps because other people fell out of the race, and he was able to gain a little bit here and there. And I heard Larry McReynolds answer this question this week, and he had a tremendous answer. They also put their team to the test because that's going to happen again down the road, and it's going to turn into a critical issue where that car has to get back on the track to gain points, to advance in the playoffs. So that was a big test. They checked a lot of boxes for their team by being able to go in the garage, fix the car that quick, get it back on track, finish the race, even though he wrecked at the end. They learned a lot in case that situation comes up again. So it's kind of weird, but I understand why they did that.
Yeah. Jeff Owens in the fast lane. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said, fair enough. I don't have to like it, but I think Jeff's explanation and Larry McReynolds' explanation makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I get it. A lot of fans aren't going to like it, and I understand that totally. It is bizarre, and it did lead to a wreck. So I understand that side. It's a difficult call, but I think they changed it because a lot of the teams and drivers were saying, hey, that's unfair that we can't go back out there. But, yeah, it leads to trouble sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, got about 45 seconds. Chase Elliott says it's time to do away with the throwback weekend, and you say what?
Oh, no, that's crazy. I think it's one of the best weekends of the year. The fans love it. And Chase Elliott has some of the coolest cars out there. So, look, I'm a big Chase Elliott fan. I knew his daddy really well. If I had a favorite driver, it would be him. But, yeah, that's crazy. I think he's off on that one.
I would agree. We're going to Bristol this weekend. It should be a lot of fun. Thank you. Talk to you next week.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, guys. Have a good one.
Great job, Jeff Owens in the fast lane. Love his stuff.
He's awesome.
Love his stuff.
Yeah.
This is a great stretch for NASCAR. You had Martinsville, you had Darlington, and now you got Bristol, three of the old places. Mm-hmm. And now they're going to take Easter weekend off the following weekend and then go to Talladega. April's a great racing month if you are a NASCAR fan. Okay, we'll be back. A little recruiting, and then George Bryan.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. It's overcast tonight with a low temperature dipping down to 47. Tomorrow, nicer, a blend of sunshine and clouds to go with a high temperature of 67. For Sunday, absolutely gorgeous. All kinds of sunshine, the high is 72. And we look ahead, much warmer on Monday, more sunshine-filled skies with 83 the high temperature. Have a great weekend. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
At Palmetto State Armory, we offer the largest selection of guns and ammunition at unbeatable prices. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff are here to provide personalized assistance, ensuring you find exactly what you need. If you enjoy outdoor activities like hunting, camping, or hiking, our clothing and outdoor gear collection has got you covered. We also feature an exceptional indoor range facility where you can experience the thrill of shooting in a safe and controlled environment. Visit us today at PalmettoStateArmory.com or your local retail store. Palmetto State Armory, American made for life.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump has had his annual physical. The exam will potentially give the public its first details in years about the health of a man who in January was the oldest in U.S. history to be sworn in as president. The 78-year-old Republican said before the physical that he's never felt better, but these things must be done. President Trump is betting that a beleaguered Iran is so vulnerable following a tumultuous 18 months in the Middle East that it might be finally ready to abandon its nuclear program. The renewed push to solve one of the most delicate foreign policy issues facing the White House and Mideast will begin in earnest Saturday. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 619 points, the Nasdaq rose 337, the S&P 500 advanced 92. More details at srnnews.com.
Step into a brighter future with Broker Solar. Transform your home, your business, your nonprofit into a beacon of efficiency and savings. With Broker Solar, you're not just installing solar panels, you're setting the foundation for long-term financial savings, taking control over these power companies that, well, let's face it, they have a monopoly. You can't choose your power company, but you can control the cost of your power. Ken and his expert team will help you to navigate through any complexities of solar energy. They'll tailor a system that's perfectly fit for your needs and for your budget. Get a rooftop setup or somewhere else on your land, or just start with solar to integrate powerful battery backups so when the storms do come, the power goes out in your block, it'll stay on at your home. It's not for everyone, but if you're even curious, don't you owe it to yourself to reach out and call Broker Solar for a free consultation? Listen, if you trust the point, if you trust me, I'm telling you, you can trust Broker Solar. Explore your solar potential at brokersolar.com. Start generating power on your terms. Broker Solar, empowering you while shining above the rest.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Tradition and quality. That's what you get with H&J Cattle Company, where local third-generation farmers ensure you receive the finest beef in South Carolina. Our registered Hereford and Wagyu cattle are raised with sustainable practices without growth hormones, antibiotics, or animal byproducts. Taste the difference with the highest quality beef guaranteed. Order now at HandJCattle.com or on Instagram and Facebook at H&J Cattle. Again, HandJCattle.com, where ethics meets quality.
Hey, honey, since you're in West Columbia, can you stop by Triangle Pharmacy and get our meds?
Yes. Have you been inside of Triangle lately?
Doesn't it look great?
Absolutely. Robbie and Isha are taking great care of the store and us.
I'm so glad we have a pharmacy that values getting to know us and our family. They even called me on my birthday.
Triangle Pharmacy, still local since 1953. Come see us at 1239 D Avenue or at our Columbia location, True Pharmacy, at 623 Beltline Boulevard, or visit trianglepharmacysc.com.
This is Fran Halloran, the Money Coach. Grow with the point as we build on 10 incredible years of community local radio. We've built an environment where our listeners are our family. Are you a small business with big dreams? Join the tremendous stable of advertising partners at The Point. Connect with Kevin Cohen and brainstorm a tailored strategy to escalate your business growth using the powerful platform of The Point. Call Kev directly at 563-8558. Teaming with The Point, you can make the next year your best year.
The Sports Talk Recruiting Report is sponsored by Seawell's Catering.
All right, time to give you the recruiting report tonight before we get to George Bryan and Birdie's Bogies and Biceps. And our recruiting report is brought to you by our good friends at Seawells. Sully is not with us tonight because he's at a wedding, which means hopefully it's being catered by Seawells. If it's a local thing, if they were smart, they would have called Seawells and said, come cater my wedding. Seawells will come to your location or host your event at their location on Rosewood Drive. So if you got something very special coming up, like a wedding reception or a birthday party or a corporate outing, give Seawells a call at 803-771-7385, online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. Maybe you're going to celebrate winning the Masters. Yeah, if Scheffler wins the Masters, he should call Seawells, have his party over at Seawells. I'd show up for that. And don't forget the daily luncheon buffet, Tuesday through Friday, for only $14 at Seawells. You will not be disappointed in that. Okay, just a few quick notes on this Friday afternoon. Orangeburg-Wilkinson defensive end Jordan Abinger plans to visit South Carolina tomorrow. Not going to be shocked if they offer him when they see him tomorrow. 6'3", 235, runs about a 4'5", 4'6". Might see him walk away with an offer. Clemson target defensive end Camarion Johnson Muscle Shoals, Alabama, visiting Alabama this weekend. Clemson target, linebacker Caleb Gordon of Gastonia, North Carolina, offered by NC State. 2027 quarterback Trent Seaborn, Alabaster, Alabama, plans to visit South Carolina tomorrow. Remember, the Gamecocks are having another scrimmage tomorrow. And, of course, in basketball, the big news, this is big national news, Malaysia Fulwiley transferring out of the USC basketball program. I imagine that the big programs in college basketball beyond South Carolina will be all over her. I would imagine LSU, UConn, maybe to the West Coast. Who knows? Also, former Wofford guard Justin Bailey signed with Georgia. One more note, South Carolina target cornerback Kerry Adams is visiting Oregon today. All right, there you go. Quick glimpse at recruiting here on Sports Talk. Remember to check it out on our website, sportstalksc.com, and on X. Go to our, well, you don't say hashtag anymore. Go to our topic line, I guess you would call it, ST Recruiting. Just type in ST Recruiting. That'll take you to our post on X when it comes to our recruiting stuff and the recruiting notes from others. Okay, triple coverage of the Masters continues now with George Bryan III.
4. Straight down the middle. It went straight down the middle. Then it started to hook just a wee bit.
Okay, we teed off with Don Williams. We made the turn with MJ Ward. And now George Bryan III will bring us home our triple team Masters coverage here on Sports Talk, brought to you by Tsunami Bar Sports. George, welcome in. I know you have spent some quality time at Augusta National this week.
Indeed. And I went on Monday, and it didn't quite work out, but I did spend a little time at the CVS with my son Wesley, who had to hold a sign. He lost a golf match to Phil, and Phil showed up gracefully with a suggestion and a tip. That was Monday. Did not go in the gates because the golf course was closed, but still took pictures from the outside looking in. And yesterday went down with my my oldest golf child named Chase Butler, not my DNA child, my oldest golf child.
Mm-hmm.
And he has been working with me for 20 years, and we went down, and I joined my college roommate, Chris Noonan, who is on the agronomy staff at Datto Island, and I played Augusta National with my roommate in college on December 28th, 1979. And I had never watched a Masters and had no idea how to play golf or anything about Augusta. And he and I reminisced a little bit about that round. And it was a blast. And I did run into family, including Wesley. And nothing like this event. It gets the golf year started, in my opinion. Nothing like it. And by the way, great job, Don Williams. He's one of the ones and a pioneer of this, of me being involved in golf and radio, especially. Wonderful hearing him. Y'all were awesome that segment. And then I did enjoy MJ's segment thoroughly, and looking forward to this one. We have Drew Nix, one of the most heartful golf growers I've ever met. And she is now a middle school coach. She's gonna tell us more about it in just a bit. And Phil, I wanted to make sure you covered everything you wanted to as far as that telecast. There's a couple of things I would like to mention. Maybe you've already talked about it, but number 10, number 11, number 12, number 13, especially 13, 10, 11, 13, completely different after the storm. And the golf course is, to me, absolutely perfect. I love the way it looks and plays, but those holes are definitely different after that storm, and it kind of reminds me of 30 years ago, the way it looks. I'm sure you covered some of that, though.
Oh, yeah.
this
We've
week.
talked about trees that were removed and trees that were moved and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I knew the storm had changed some things there a little bit. However, George, you would say that the integrity of the course, what it's all about, has not changed, not one iota.
No, it's absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. I love how you and Don Williams covered one of the greatest comebacks I've ever seen with Dunlap. I saw him Thursday shoot the score he shot. I didn't see all the golf, but I've never seen a ball go so far right offline so often. And he comes back, shoots. I don't know how many shots better. 90-71 is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Absolutely unbelievable. Didn't see his interview. Sorry I missed it, but I think I can look it up and watch. I can't wait to do that. I've never heard of such, but it was fabulous.
He probably, short of winning the tournament, that'll be most remembered, but he probably won himself a lot of fans around the world simply because he didn't just leave town after shooting that 90, as embarrassing as that had to be for him to have that kind of day. And not only did he come back and play, but to finish under par, remarkable. Just a remarkable story right there. That's one of the big stories of the week, if you ask me.
Me too, and I appreciate you and the Hall of Famer Don Williams bringing it up. Now, if you're okay, I'd love if Drew Nix if she's got a tee in hand and her driver.
She's got the tee in the ground, and she's ready to go.
I'll tell you what a privilege to have Coach Nix on our show to really just take us down this last stretch. And this week is very special. So from Gilbert, and she's going to bring us up to speed. I want to welcome Coach Drew Nix to our show. It's quite a privilege. Coach, welcome.
Thank you, George. I appreciate it. Good to be on here. So you were talking about middle school golf.
Oh, yeah. We had you on just a couple of years ago. And, Phil, just to remind you, she started a golf team in a pasture in the country, and it from pasture to the podium. And she won a state championship. I'm not sure that we could talk about that too much, but we got to kick it off right there. Short, just recap what happened. I know you've told it before. One more time, and then we're going to go into what we talked about as far as juniors, Augusta. Tee it up for us. Tell us the story.
All right, 2016, we started a girls team at Gilbert High School. 6 softball players decided they wanted to play golf. No place to play. We started in one of the girls' pasture in their yard, and then the Ponderosa said, hey, you can come play here. We started there. 5 years later, we won a state championship. That was it in a nutshell. It was unbelievable.
Hey, Bill, you notice how quick she told that story and how cool it is? Let's go back. Let's slow this thing down. Did your players, there were 1 or 2 that had skill, but most of them didn't even have clubs and much less a golf course?
That's correct. We went over, Chris Miller was working at the association at the time. He gave us some clubs. He gave us balls to hit in the pasture. We met 8 o'clock in the morning in the summers. We hit the balls. We Easter egged them in our shirts, picked them up, went back and hit them again, Easter egged them in the shirt, hit them again. About 4 mornings every day in the summer, and until we got use of the Ponderosa. And that's how we started. Pretty much it. And then we bought in. We had some people that walked by us at the Ponderosa and said, hey, these girls need some clubs. I said, yes, they do. And some members of the Ponderosa bought us some clubs. We upgraded each year, got better, just the way it went.
Well, and each time we've spoken, I get off the phone. I'm glad I can walk out my back door and hit a golf ball, and it's almost just like a pasture, and that's what I'm going to do tonight, no doubt. Let's shift gears a little bit, and we had this discussion. Tell us a little bit about how and what you did with some of your players around Augusta.
Well, I was on the WSCGA, the Junior Golf Foundation Board, and the Augusta National allows us to take 4 junior girls to Augusta National each day. And so, and just this past year, last week, as a matter of fact, I had the opportunity to take 4 girls over to the Women's Augusta National at Champions Retreat. And what a treat it is to tote, 14 and 15-year-old girls over there and let them see the young ladies, the young women, because we truly believe if you can see it, you can be it. And it's just a fabulous opportunity, and that's what we do. And the kids, it's just amazing to see. They just can't believe they're there doing it, and it's just a fabulous opportunity.
Well, that's I go way back into the 90s, and I happen to know a few folks that knew a member, and I had always just enjoyed being around people that had never been to Augusta. And I'll just shorten it up. One of the family members of a member caught wind that I would take a child. It used to not be so hard to get tickets. And I would figure a way to take children, very young age children, who had never been and didn't play golf. And, almost in every case, when they when they had such opportunity, they caught that golf virus and they started playing. And I went for a stretch. It had to be close to 20 years where these family members of the National knew what I was doing, and they would let me they actually let me have tickets, and they knew what I was doing, and I would invite juniors that had never been. And I'd try to find those who didn't play, who had never been to Augusta. And, it's one of the most infectious, that tournament is one of the most infectious, contagious events that I know of. And any of your girls react in a way that some of these players, that I took a few girls, my baby girl, my daughter, I'm pretty sure that's why she started playing, is she got one of those tickets 1 year or 2 years. It could have been more than 2, to be honest. But you have such a story associated with any of your trips to Augusta.
I can tell you the girls would rather go see the guys play, which is understandable.
Hey, that is what a and I don't mind telling you like yesterday, I'm watching these people. I'll follow around the fans if I know they've never been there, because I love listening to the comments, the simple things that they notice that the veterans aren't as quick to realize. And it's such a beautiful property, and it is pretty sad to see the devastation. You can see a lot of the big pines are snapped off and they're thinned out. However, it will change, and there'll be new vegetation, new growth in the coming years. And it actually we were seeing all the way from one side of the property to the other, but watching the fans, listening to them react to the trees, the beauty, the azaleas. And the azaleas, some of them were still in bloom, but it's just absolutely a remarkable setting.
Agree.
And some of the folks that I do want to at least go over, and I'm sure, Phil, we're going to shift gears. Some of the South Carolina players, Lucas Glover has been playing great. He did not make the cut. I noticed that. Oh my goodness! And I don't know if you caught it towards the end. Bernard Longer and Freddie Couples, they were very close, hanging on the edge. A couple of seniors did not make the cut. But oh, what a setting it was with Longer, and I can't wait to watch reruns.
I'm with you. Drew, I actually enjoy because I'm working during the day or doing something. I mean, I try to keep my eye on everything, but I enjoy one of the beautiful things about the Masters. Of course, you can watch on the PGA channel, you can watch all the tournaments replayed, but just watching the Masters in replay, for me, it's as good as watching it the first time around. I mean, I can watch it all night long. And so, like you, George, when I finish up here and settle in, I'm going to turn on today's round. And like yesterday, by the time I got home from the show, I wanted to see what happened to Rory at 15. And so, fortunately, when I got home and turned it on, Rory was teeing off on 15. So I got home in time to see him hit the ball into the water. And I'm thinking to myself, you poor guy. You should have done a lot better. That's like something we would do. But yeah, I'm like you. I enjoy watching that rerun, that replay they give us at night.
I never grow bored with watching even the older ones. It's one of the oddest things that I can even describe. And, it hasn't been covered. I haven't heard it much. It's the only tournament. It's the only tournament that young men dream about just to play in. Most of the kids dream about winning events. It's the only one that even the tour players dream about just participating. So if you just make your way into the event, you've achieved a dream. And
but don't you think? And Coach might agree with this too. Don't you think that all of us who've been on a green one afternoon, one early evening, and we're looking at about a 12-footer, and we're thinking to ourselves, I'm on the 18th at Augusta National. I need this 12-footer to win the Masters. I mean, I don't think you do that for the PGA or now maybe over in England and Ireland you think about the Open, but over here, you're right, everybody dreams about making that putt to win the Masters.
Absolutely. No other tournament factors in. It's the Masters.
Well, here's my question for you. I've never made that putt, Coach. Have you ever made that putt to win the Masters in your head?
No.
Yep. The pressure gets to you. Even in make-believe, the pressure gets to you.
Hey, I know it's kind of – we're talking make-believe. And, hey, Coach Nix, when Phil Kornblut and I get on this radio, especially late, by the way, Phil, just so you know, she came off the water tonight to do this show. She loves fishing.
Oh.
And she does. And did you catch anything before I make this comment? Did you catch anything tonight, Coach?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, hey, so the stories grow when Phil and I get together. They get bigger and bigger, just like the later into the evening in fellowship and spirits, that the fish get bigger and more. Well, I've never missed one of those putts to win the Masters.
Really?
I've won thousands of them.
I'll have to come by and see your trophies.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, you better be ready to stay a while.
Yeah.
We'll have to look hard. You'll have to visualize those too. But, hey, Coach, you did make a comment earlier. Something to the effect of if you see it, it's possible. Repeat what you just said earlier.
Well, we believe if you can see it, you can be it.
I like it. And I still believe I've got that old school. This is a great country. It's unbelievable to me to have such privilege, even to just play the game. And then if you behave yourself and stay on this side of the fence and the sod, you can chase your dreams in this country. And it's just unbelievable. I'm one. If I run across these folks in the community, they've done something special, I'll ask them about the very origin in a heartbeat. And usually, not always, but in the origin of most of the folks that achieve is this idea that they had in their minds that was so unreachable. And in this game, it's just amazing. I do believe, just like you, if you see it, it's possible. And I'm feeding these anybody that wants to listen, one of the greatest discoveries, and I got to shout out the Tsunami Bar Sports. My greatest discovery so far in golf, Coach, is the older we get, truly the better we can get if we still practice seeing it. And our technology, although it's not going to help us be that PGA Tour link, there's no question it increases club speed and skill proficiency where you hit better shots. And my greatest discovery so far is the older we are, the better we can be if we believe it and we use the technology just a little bit the right way. That's a fact. That's a fact. TsunamiBarSports.com, and check it out. The website's getting loaded up. And Phil, there are a few things on your website that you can reference. But
absolutely,
yeah.
Go to SportsTalkSC.com. I'm on it about 500 times a day. SportsTalkSC.com, and there is a link there to Tsunami Bar Sports, and of course, use the code GB10. That's in honor of our boss here, George Bryan III. Use the code GB10 for 10% off. Just click on the link where it says Tsunami Bar, and the little digital ad will take you right to the Tsunami Bar website, and you can shop to your heart's content and get 10% off.
Well, and my hopes are that you do. But now, Coach, I'm going to lay it in there for you. So we got about a minute and a half. Can you sum up? You had an event called, I'm going to let you name it, but you got to give us the results. He's my favorite in the whole world. Golf Pro, the reason I'm in the business of golf, Buddy Boston. Talk to us a little bit. You got now less than 50 seconds to sum it up.
Well, as most of you probably know, Buddy Boston was the golf pro at the Ponderosa for 35 plus years, and he made possible for so many junior golfers for those years to have opportunities, etc. So that's where we practice and play with Gilbert High School. So I've been having and hosting the Ponderosa Shootout since I've been the coach at Gilbert for, 8-10 years now. And I just decided that, hey, we need to change that tournament name. And so this year we decided to change our tournament name to the Buddy in honor of Buddy Boston. Should have done it years ago. That's where we are now.
Congratulations. Appreciate you joining us. There's the music. Thanks a lot, Coach Nix.
All right, thanks, guys.
Tee 'em high, but shoot 'em low.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great Masters weekend. We'll see you Monday.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Really, really quick. Did a good job with a nice throw. But Purify was already there.
The infield for Stanford, watching the replay screen out there in left center. They're thinking to themselves, hey, we don't have this back home. We don't get that clear of a shot back home.
Of course not.